we're headed back to the farm. For some reason, that statement always has brought a bit of excitement for me. While our family didn't spend as much time at the farm as others, we still have our share of memories of each time that we visited, and returning is always a joy. You know, the longest part of the trip always seems to be as soon as we pull off the freeway and those familiar sights come into view. If it's Princeton or Case-Beer or even the location of the old PAG plant, when you're excited to get to the farm, it always seems just one more cornfield away. What's so special about the Burkey farm? Well, it's our beginning. Each of us can trace the stories in our lives back to here. At one point, we've all gravitated here and either listened to the stories of those around us or made a few stories of our own. During our visit to the farm, there are a few things that we can always count on during our visit. They include family, corn, tractors, sightseeing, food and conversation, pictures, fun, and, of course, the fireworks. Let's take a look at each of these we experienced during our latest visit. More than anything else, the reason for heading to the farm is family. From the beginning, when it was first farmed by my great-grandfather Ben and his wife Mabel, it was all about family. They had 4 kids, Glenn, Dale, Keith, and Pearl. Dale married Lucille, and from there our, or at least my branch of the family, began. Dale and Lucille had 6 children: Herald, Iris, Ben, Raymond, Daryl, and Gayla. From this group, the greatest generation of kids was born. Hey, I'm making the video, I make the story. And from this group, some of the greatest stories have been told. From catching the barn on fire to hanging Raymond in the barn or driving the car onto the porch. And the stories are told and retold with each visit back to the farm. While I don't believe we'll ever completely know the truth, they are the stories of legends that we love to hear over and over again. Corn. If you come to the farm, you can't help but notice the corn. You know, field corn tops the list of Illinois' agricultural commodities, and Illinois ranks second nationally for field corn production. Oh, and one other cool corn fact. Corn cobs always have an even number of rows. Go ahead, count them. Normally a cob has 16 rows with about 800 kernels, depending upon the amount of moisture received during the growing season. You might say, yeah, okay, so what? Well, corn is our family heritage. We were corn farmers, and every time you visit the farm, you can't help but learn a little more about corn and the process of planting, growing, and harvesting it. And you haven't truly visited the farm if you haven't taken a stroll through the crib and talked about the history that occurred there. While there are many stories about the old barn, it's the crib that we all seem drawn to. Many of us, at one time or another, have spent time in the crib during the harvest season. Young and old alike have memories of their time spent bringing the corn in. Don't believe me? Just ask someone their story, and they'll be happy to share.
You see these two right here? There's these chains on it, and they'd hit that lever right there, and it would turn and raise your wagon up.
And then dump it.
And then dump it in there, in the elevator.
Now this elevator would take both shelled and cobs?
I seen it do both.
Anything, yeah.
Okay. And then up there, up in the top,
You
you
can
would
take
divert.
oats and stuff up in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
But you could divert it then to either side.
And whatever
There's a big
bin
chute,
you
like
want.
a cement chute up there that you'd swing around and put extras on to get it back in the corner.
So you can see here we got how many bins? There's 1 bin, 2 bins, 4 bins, I think, 4
Yeah.
different bins up in there, and that's where it went.
You know, no visit to the farm goes without a tractor or two. Possibly even a hayride behind one of the tractors. It's just part of the heritage. And during your visit, hopefully, you'll hear at least 1 or 2 pops from the tractor stack as it navigates through the barnyard with a couple of folks following along behind. Okay, so let's take a moment and talk about the barn. Well, more specifically, the hay fork used to load the hay into the barn. On this year's trip to the farm, we had a rather extensive conversation about the hay hook, and more specifically, where the pulley was located in the middle of the yard. While we never did come to the conclusion about its true location, we did discuss how the hay fork was used. While this video isn't of our barn, it does show you how it all worked, and Daryl takes the time to explain it to Rusty and I.
And here's the hay forks come out of that thing. I don't know, there's something on here, this is not the wire, it hooks into here, see, and that's what control, a chain.
Okay.
And these forks is what
How many
your
bales?
bales.
How many bales do you take up at a time?
About 8.
About 8. Okay.
And you had them stacked here and here, so when you put the forks in there, it held them together, and that's what held them together. And then when you get up in here with this here, you pull this strip rope right here. And that would release this, so that your forks would come out like this and drop your bales. The guys in the mill, the guys in the hay mow would go, hey! And the guy in the wagon would pull the trip.
Oh, you didn't pull from inside the hay?
No, The guy on the wagon really controlled it. Hey, and he'd trip it and go where he wanted it.
When you've been away for a while, you always want to take a reminiscent walk through the old stomping grounds. Visit to the farm isn't complete without a trip to Walnut to see the location of the old high school, or stop at the cheese factory, and maybe even a stop at the local diner. And a visit isn't complete without a drive to the red-covered bridge. It was originally built in 1863 at a cost of $3,148.57 and is one of 5 remaining covered bridges in Illinois. For 3/4 of a century, the bridge has weathered the storms and floods and carried travelers across Bureau Creek. Oh, and I'm not that smart. I just read the plaque. For as long as the farm has been in existence, two things you can count on: food and conversation. I often wonder about the number of meals cooked in the kitchen, the number of people fed, and the number of stories told. You can always find a conversation going on, sitting on the porch, during a good meal, leaning against the tractor, or just staring at the corn. Oh, and you haven't lived if you didn't try to listen through the heating grate after your parents told you to go to bed. Shh, don't tell anybody.
Pirates come flying up on me, and they seem to be in small, fast-moving boats.
They are.
Put a bazooka through it. Sink their ship.
Well, we can't have it. Let's put them on here, okay? We would really be in some trouble with
So I'll
that.
just put a 50 caliber on the bow of
Oh,
the boat.
those rocket launchers.
Yeah.
What do you think about it? You have on here, what is that, 51 inch?
I thought it big.
It's gonna punch it, sticks up all the time.
Well, it's probably thick.
I think it's a 61 inch. I would kind of done, but it's still gonna function. If I go, put it out or whatever.
The other one was I had just moved to Colorado, and we had a pack. So I threw all the trash in the back of my truck. Well, I went down to the local dump, and it was closed that Sunday. So I went, crap, it's closed. All right, I'll just take it in Monday morning. I come out Monday morning, there's trash all over, bare crap all around my truck. My bed is dented in from him tearing through my truck. I was like, oh, that was a hard lesson to learn. Don't ever leave the trash outside.
My wife cleaned for a guy, and she was up one day cleaning and had the windows open on the house spring of the year. She kept hearing this clink, clink, clink. She started looking around the house, kept looking and finally looked out the big picture window. And this bear is sitting there where the vent pipe is for the sewer, and a leg on each side of it, sitting on its butt. Pick the cap up and drop it. Blink. Pick the cap up, look around, drop it. Blink.
Know you've been a good friend, and that's in the thick and thin, and I know it's never gonna end, 'cause you've been a good friend.
As hard as it is to get folks together, Getting group pictures can even be a harder task, especially with certain members of the group, hint, hint, Daryl. But this is always a great opportunity to get the family photos with those that we don't always get to see.
What?
There you go.
What?
Hey, you done had your chance.
Uncle Barry, I've been taking pictures of you for years,
That's the problem.
including Solvang, California, and you didn't smile then. So let's see a smile.
Smile, my wedding pictures, I couldn't see buttons.
That's not my butt.
Look at that. You gotta smile. Smile for the camera. But you gotta look up. I don't even know which camera to look at.
I know. Look at that house. Uncle Barry, look up.
Man.
And you just love to exaggerate. An hour.
No, you have to.
No, he's
Send us left. There you go. There you go.
Know you've been a good friend, and that's in the thick and thin, and I know it's never gonna end, 'cause you've been a good friend.
Whether you're young or old, there is always fun to be had at the farm. You'll have heard about the great water fight stories from past visits, and since the removal of the original well, these have kind of backed off a little, but they were the stuff of legends. Having a bucket of ice-cold well water dumped down your back is almost a rite of passage. You don't know what it feels like until you've experienced it at least once. But that doesn't mean there still isn't fun around. There is always something to keep you busy, from the trampoline, the pool, or any number of different activities. A visit to the farm on the 4th wouldn't be the same without fireworks. While we can never replace the show that Uncle Raymond used to put on for everyone, we were very fortunate this year to be invited by Vic's brother Terry to enjoy the festivities at his place. And it was an amazing night.
Big rainstorm right there coming in.
And with that, we come to the close of our visit. At the end of the day, as it was at the beginning, it all comes down to family. While we all come from different parts of the country and live very different lives, we all have the same roots. No matter how long you've been away, coming back always feels like home. 6 generations have passed through the farm, and while the echoes of the kids running through the hall and their screams as they play in the hayloft have long since quieted, the memories continue on with each generation. Coming back to the Burkey farm will always hold a special place in our hearts and leave a lasting mark on our souls.